Welcome back to another episode of the Thought Leaders Business Lab. I'm your Thursday co-host, Samantha Riley, and joined here very bright and early on this beautiful Thursday morning, Tim Hyde. Welcome, Tim.
Hello, Sam. Great to be back. Looking forward to another exciting episode this week.
Nice and early, getting first cab off the rank and getting it done.
That's right. My fitness coach will be horrified that I'm doing podcasting rather than out doing laps around the local walking track.
Well, if I was your coach, I would be too, because I was up and did mine at 5, so I had enough time to get back in, shower and get the makeup on. Come on, Tim.
You're looking fabulous. I don't do 5 a.m, Sam.
Well, I'm glad that you could join me here nice and early this morning. Today, we're going to be talking about how to break through the glass ceiling in your business, which is a bit of an extension of the topic that we discussed last week, which was how to create leverage in your coaching business. And, we had some great feedback.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we had a bunch of questions about, how do I do that? You've told me what to do and what to look for, but not necessarily where in my business to kind of look for those efficiencies and stuff. And we thought it might be worth a little bit more, I guess, expansion on those ideas and topics. But we had an interesting conversation during the week. Well, I certainly had an interesting conversation during the week from one of the members of my networking group that I go to. At the moment, I run 3 networking groups in Canberra on a fortnightly basis. And one of my members who hasn't been in a while, and I'd love to get your take on this, I called him up and said, hey, Wayne, we haven't seen you. Is everything okay? And he said, oh, yeah, things are a bit tight right now, and that's why I haven't been coming. And that sort of set off alarm bells for me. But I'd love to get your take on, I guess, the mindset that goes into making that decision.
Oh, wow, what a scarcity mindset. It's interesting that when times get tight, what people cut back on. And if times are tight in your business, marketing is the number one thing, as far as I'm concerned, that you do not cut back on. If things are tight, we need to be creating more leads and having more people coming into our business. That's exactly the time to get out there, to be marketing, to be telling everyone what's going on. And that's just the start of some really bad momentum that probably won't end very well for him, which is sad, really.
Yeah, it sort of creates that negative mindset, doesn't it? It creates this downward spiral that, because you're not marketing, you bring in less leads, you close less, you have less money to then market less.
Yeah, absolutely. It is that scarcity mindset instead of the abundance mindset. And I mean, it's kind of like share trading, right? The majority of the market will sell when it's low because they have a freak out and dump their shares, and they buy high in the excitement, where in actual fact, it's the opposite that we should be doing, buying low and selling high. And, that's the way that we need to be doing it in our business too, is going against the grain. If everyone's in a scarcity mindset and they're all pulling back on their costs, how much more leverage can you get from your marketing dollars if you're out there? Because there's still people spending money every day.
Yeah. People still have a need. People still have a pain point they need to solve. And for many of those people, the pain point is right now. Interesting thing for Wayne, he's missed out just in 2 meetings on meeting, 7 new people into our network, 7 new visitors. And if we go those 7 people, let's be conservative and say they only knew 500 people each that he could have introduced to. That's 3,500 potential opportunities that he's missed out on.
Yes.
And that's just direct referral business, not including the, the key influencers out of those 3,500 who could potentially get him on a podcast, talking about changes in the Royal Commission, or, put him in front of, lots and lots of people who were, the right target market for him. So, I would always encourage people, when you're looking at what you're doing in your business, do a minimum of 5 to 10%, even 5 to 15% of the resources available to you. And I don't just mean money, I mean time as well.
Yes.
Make sure that there's allocated to some marketing activity.
Absolutely. I just very quickly, I started my very first business at a time, and I don't know if you remember this, Tim, but I think you probably will, when interest rates were 18%.
Yep.
Can you remember that? That's when we started our very first business. And I can tell you that I don't think there was anyone that thought we were very smart at that time. But that actually worked out perfectly for us because we were able to learn so much about how to get customers when times were tough. And we had started in an industry at that time, which was probably the last thing people were spending money on. But we learned straight off the bat that you have to get out there. You need everyone to know what it is you're doing. And if we can do that at 18%, times are always tough at some point of what people, I'm going to put it in air quotes, think, but get out there, get marketing, have people know what you're doing. And if it's tough, just think about how you can do things differently.
Yeah,
maybe that's a whole topic for another week.
I think so.
Yeah.
Now,
Awesome.
today's topic, I think, is an interesting one, and again, is an extension from what we were talking about last time. And I wanted to start with kind of recognizing what your value is to your business.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to preface this as we were talking just a little bit off air. This is not how you price yourself to your market, right? This is how you value your time and your contribution in the business. So I would encourage everyone I'm going to draw some models here. If you're listening, feel free to stop the podcast at various times to sort of draw pictures. I think that's going to be really important for today's episode. And, if you want to go and grab on my website, I've got a resource here that's just going to give you the model, I guess, we're going to work through today. So winmoreclients.com.au/model. If you want to grab that and sort of listen along, by all means. But the first one of those is to recognize your own value. And I think this is something that people don't do very often in their business, is kind of really reverse engineer the activities they need to do to deliver the outcome that they want to have.
Yes, absolutely.
So I want everyone to sort of write down the amount of money that you would like to walk away with in your pocket at the end of the next 12 months. And we're going to just do a little exercise here to work out what that is. So, for example, let's just use $200,000. $200,000 is a nice return on investment for all the time and energy and effort and emotions that you invest into your business. So let's call it $200,000. And for argument's sake, let's say we want to work 40 hours a week over 40 weeks. Right? So if you divide that 200,000 by 40 weeks, and then by another 40 hours a week, that's going to come out with $125 an hour. Okay. So that's what you value your time at in your business if you want to make that 200,000. Now, bear in mind, we know that business has overheads, so you're not going to charge your customer 125. You're going to charge your customer more than that to cover all of your additional business overheads. But if you're not charging at least that, guess what?
Yes.
You're never going to get there, or the amount of time changes, or the amount of hours you work in your business changes.
And I certainly want to say that I just want to reiterate, probably in a different way, that we're not talking about what you're charging out, because I'm very much a believer that we charge out via an outcome, what that outcome will cost. And I don't want to get into that today, but this is the minimum that we should be looking at, how to figure out what tasks we're doing in our business. So if we're doing a task that can be, that we can charge out at $10 an hour, and we're doing it at $125 an hour, then there's a big gap.
Yeah, and you'll just find yourself, working really hard and kind of wondering why you're not getting there. Right?
Yeah.
Look, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I learned this lesson several years ago. I've been doing a lot of. I have an IT background. I've done a lot of coding in my life, and I was building my first website. Now I can make it look pretty. I can put copy on it and all that sort of stuff. Where I don't have the skills is in, I guess, the server side of things, right? So deploying my server onto my hosting infrastructure. And I'd spent a day, right, a good solid 8 hours trying to get this website up and running. And I just couldn't, I was following the WordPress step by step to deploy, and I couldn't work out why it wasn't coming up properly. And what I found at the end of that, I thought, this is ridiculous. And I sent it off to my developer Anton, bit of a shout out to Anton there in the Ukraine, and said, Anton, can you just help me out here? I can't work out what I've done. Can you just deploy this WordPress website for me? And he came back 32 minutes later. Not only had he deployed put WordPress on my server, he'd also put my theme on and created all my logins for me.
Mm-hmm.
Have a guess what that cost me?
Oh, probably about $20, I reckon.
Oh no, that's generous. It cost me $7.15.
And lost you hundreds and hundreds of dollars of time that you could have spent delivering to your clients or accruing new clients.
That's right. And I think we need to really sort of look at that. Now, if I was to say, look, I wanted to make 125,000 and I've spent a day doing a $1 an hour, a $7 an hour task or a $15 an hour task, I'm already on the back foot in terms of being able to reach my objective.
Yes. And I think that for most of the people that are listening, I think they'll understand this, especially with the tech side. I'm a big believer if you're not techie, don't spend your time trying to figure this stuff out, not just because it'll take you so much longer, but because you'll break things and you'll end up paying someone to fix it anyway. I know that it was funny it wasn't funny for this person that I knew, but it was funny for me that I was getting a subdomain set up the same week that she was. And I sent it off to my developer and he did it within 10 minutes, sent it back with the logins, exactly like you said, done. That I can't even remember how much it cost me, probably a gold coin, I'd be thinking. And this particular client, a week later, and I'm talking about all day, every day, working on trying to get this subdomain up and running and breaking things along the way. I said, you are crazy. Give it to someone else to do that knows what they're doing. And I want you to be really listen to this answer, because there's a big learning in here. She said, I want to figure it out myself so that we've got the system for next time. And I said to her, the system should be reach out to this person at this email address and get them to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. We don't need to know how to do everything in our business.
Yeah, we've got to know what's going on, but we don't need to know that level of intimacy. And even, if you're clever about it, you can say, go and do, that person at that end of that email address. Record yourself talking when you do what you do, so that I can put that into my procedures manual. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You don't have to do it yourself. Now, the second model I want to sort of go on to is what I would call my pyramid model. Okay. Now, again, if you've downloaded the models from a website, you'll have this. If you don't, just grab a bit of scrap paper and I want you to draw a pyramid the right way up. And you're going to have 3 horizontal lines through it. You're sort of breaking that pyramid into 4 sections. All right, now, just put that aside for the moment. Now, the second thing I want you to do here is now write down all of the things that you do in your business in some detail. And you'll very, very quickly find that there are lots and lots of things that we do in our business. Okay?
It is a huge list.
Right? It's a little bit scary when we start to break it all down, but I think it's an important exercise that we do to really understand what it is that our business does to deliver the outcome that we deliver for our clients. So we're going to do things like, here we go, plan podcast, record podcast, post podcast to social media sites, arrange partnership with awesome Sam Riley. That's just a podcast. Okay.
Oh, and there was 50 different things that were missed in there.
Right? There's a lot there. We've created a show run sheet. Right. We respond to comments once they're on social media. All right. We send invoices. One of my personal favorites. We pay invoices. Not so much. Right. We code our website. We write the terms and conditions for our engagements. Right? We reconcile, we have sales calls, we deliver our product and everything that entails. We do further education and learning. I can see the huge number of books, business books behind you. Right? There's probably not too much Harry Potter on that shelf.
Not much at all.
I can see there's a couple of, Some and So for Dummies.
Yes, there is a couple up there.
Just up there. Yeah. But we expand our knowledge. It is this massive list of things that our business does. Now, when you start writing those things down, it may seem a little bit overwhelming, but all of those tasks fall into one of the 4 areas in our pyramid. Now, the top of our pyramid, and I know you talk about this a huge amount, Sam, is okay. So some of the tasks we've written down fall into our genius zone. Now, tasks in our genius zone really should be things that really drive our business forward, right? That we can do, right? We're probably the expert in our business at those things. And I think most importantly, that we love doing them.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Because if we don't love doing them, right, why are they in your genius zone for a start?
Well, if we don't love doing them, we procrastinate, we don't get them done. The things that are in our genius zone are actually, they're the things that you love doing because they're the things that you prioritize generally.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. And also don't burn us out. If we did all the things we love doing all day long, this will be a fantastic business, right? Those 40 hours a week would just fly by, right? Now, the second zone is our competence zone. Now, the things in our competence zone drive our business forward, and we can do, but we don't necessarily love doing them, right? So again, when you look at your list of tasks, be brutally honest with yourself. Go, what do I love doing, and what I can do, and it drives my business forward, but I don't necessarily love them.
What's one thing in your competence zone, Tim, for you personally?
In my competence zone, that's a tough one for me. I think. Look, probably.
I've just thrown you under the bus there.
You have thrown me up. You can throw me under the bus. Look, I'm going to throw it out here. I do a lot of work in Infusionsoft by Keep for clients. I'm really good at it. Okay. Yes. In fact, I was talking to my VAs the other day. I gave them a task after they said, "Oh, we can do Infusionsoft stuff." It took them 5 hours to do what I could have done in about 5 minutes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay?
It drives my business forward because it's a product that I deliver to my customers.
Yes.
All right. I'm in the top 3 in Australia and the top 50 in the world for, Infusionsoft sales partners.
Yes.
So I'm really, really good at it. All right. And do I love doing it? Look, if I was brutally honest, no, probably not.
Yes.
If I had to do all that all day long, I probably wouldn't go, yep, this is really awesome for me. But I'm really good, and it drives my business forward.
So what I'm hearing is that something in your competence zone could be something that you start to outsource, but you're still keeping the control of to make sure that your business is still growing, but slowly but surely you are starting to hand this task to other people so that you're training them up so that eventually you can hand that task off.
Yeah, so that's our expert zone. So the second zone is our expert zone, right? The third zone is our competence zone, right? So the competence zone are things that we can do, right? So we know how to do them. And I put things like reconciling invoices in here. I can do it, right? If I had to, right, I don't really love doing them. If I had to do that all day long, I'd be a bookkeeper. And quite clearly, I'm not a bookkeeper.
Yes.
Right? So they drive me a bit nuts. I suspect they'd probably be a bit draining and energy vampires. And we don't love doing them.
Yes.
Okay, so that's our competence zone. Now you'll notice straight away in our pyramid, if you've drawn the pyramid, big side at the bottom pointing into the top, that the competence zone is already bigger than
It's quite large.
It's quite large compared to our expert and genius zones.
Yes.
Right, and that's because we spend a lot of time in our competent zone doing stuff we can do to save a few dollars. Now, it's really important we come back to our hourly rate thing.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Because most of the tasks you'll find in your competent zone right now are probably you could outsource or delegate, outsource, automate at less than $125 an hour.
Yes.
Now, there might be some that's not. Okay. So, writing legal contracts. Right. Now, the bottom zone, the fourth one, have a guess what that one is.
I'm going to call it don't bloody go there, but I'm sure you've got a nicer word.
it's our incompetence zone.
Yes.
Okay. So things that are incompetent zone are things we certainly don't love doing them. We can't really do them. We really don't know how to do them, and we get no love and joy from doing them at all.
The things that when we do them, they always take 3 times the amount of time that they should have, and you just get frustrated. Your to-do list that you should have got through doesn't even get touched because we're spending time doing these tasks that drain us of life force.
That's right. And, this was a big realization for me because, often we'll look at things like if I had to go and write my terms and conditions of engagement, look, I could probably go to a whole bunch of other websites, find a bunch of terms and conditions, cobble them together and hope that it's going, it really works for me. right? But it's not my zone of genius. I don't know. I know a little bit about the law, but I probably don't know enough about the law to write an effective terms and conditions that's going to lock my customer into, a contract.
Yes.
And so even though I might be at $125 an hour and hiring a lawyer might be $400 an hour, that lawyer can do the same task in 1 hour where it takes me 10.
Yes.
And so my relative cost to do that task is still significantly lower. Okay.
And let me just add there too, that you don't know what the cost of that down the track will be if there's a mistake.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. And again, I see so many business owners when they get started trying to do things in their incompetent zone, like building their own websites.
That's huge. Yeah.
Okay. Going, oh my God, but I don't want to spend $6,000, $7,000, $10,000 building a website, right? Because I can build it. I can get it done for like $50, or I can do it myself. Right. But what's happening is, yes, it's taking you a long way. It's taking you away from your genius zone. It's doing stuff that you really don't know how to do, really can't do. And if you can do it, you're not doing it very effectively compared to someone who does this day in and day out.
Yeah, totally.
Right. Or to save a few dollars, even selling your house.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
You can sell your house.
Yes.
But, an agent is going to, you do it one time every 7 years. An agent does it 30 to 50 times a year.
Exactly, because that's in their genius zone.
It's in their genius zone. Okay.
Yes.
And when we start to look at all the tasks, what you'll find is that most of the tasks, and again, this is why the pyramid's designed this way, is that most of the things you do in your business, you'll find are in your incompetent zone and competent zones. And those are things that you shouldn't be doing. Now, what we should be doing to break that glass ceiling is flipping that pyramid upside down.
Oh, I like this.
Okay. So the big end is now at the top, the pointy ends at the bottom. Same zones, genius zone at the top, expert zone, competent zone, incompetent zone. Now, if we start to look at the relative sizes of those zones now, we can see that sort of 70 to 80% of our time is in our genius zone.
Yes.
20 to 30% of time in our expert zone. And here's the real kicker. I believe that we should spend no time at all in our competent and incompetent zones.
Wow. I've got a little bit of a tiny take on that. I think that some of the things that are not in incompetent, but some of the things in competent that we can hang on to just to be able to keep an eye on our business. I'll give you a little tiny example of this. I don't like doing bookwork either. And I do have a bookkeeper and an accountant who I lean on very heavily. However, I actually do like to reconcile my own books because I like to see where my money is going. It means that I can pay attention to where my money is going. I can see very quickly. I know that I'm not using that software. I can cancel that now. So I think that sometimes, and I don't spend a lot of time doing this, but even 10 minutes a week means that even though it's not competent, and I don't love it at all, it means that I can keep an eye on my figures. And then that information goes to my bookkeeper so that I don't know what she does with it. She does something, prints out something fancy, and I just pay the tax department.
I think there's another way to do that with all your subscriptions that we sign up to, is just cancel your credit card every so often.
I left my credit card in the States last October, and it was the best thing ever. It was for that reason.
Do I really
but anyway,
there's
ways to do that.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? The most of the things, and this was the big revelation to me when I first started doing this in my business, is that most of the things in our competent and incompetent zones, we really need to either be eliminating from our business altogether, right? We need to be delegating them to someone at either inside our business or, as a third-party resource, or we need to be automating those tasks, right? So sending emails, right, can be an automated task, right? Yeah. Sending a lead magnet, people who have grabbed the model thing there. Right? I said that once because I know I'm going to use that lots and lots of times. I have to keep doing it to send that email because that takes time away from me spending time in my genius zone.
Yes.
And the more I know from my genius zone, I love having conversations with people about their marketing, about marketing automation, about how we create leverage in our business, as I know you do. And the more conversations I have, the more I enjoy my business, the more it drives it forward, right? And the more fun I have.
And I think that's the biggest part of this, because if we're following an influencer or, you know, an influential thought leader, we're attracted to people that have got lots of energy. And if you're doing tasks in your business that are draining your life force and you're always showing up like, oh my goodness, you know, people hear that, they see it. And, you know, it's potentially turning people away. When you're working in your genius zone, you're jumping out of bed every day, you're super happy with where you're at in life and fully grateful and excited, people are attracted to that. It's like a magnet. They're like, I want that. I want what she's having.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, the third model I want to share with you is
yes.
you know, now that we know, I guess, what tasks go in what zones, I want you to sort of, again, if you've got the model, you can see this straight away, but draw two overlapping circles. Right? So
sort of like a Venn diagram, but with only two circles.
Two parts of a Venn diagram.
2/3.
Okay. And effectively, we've created 3D zones. Right now, on the left-hand side, in order to be able to sort of shift ourselves from where we are, probably working on the wrong stuff for less than our hourly rate that we want to be able to sort of take out of our business, is that we need to stop doing stuff, we need to keep doing some things, and we need to start doing some other stuff, right? Or change. So let's put start and change on the right-hand side. Now, again, grab your task list, work out, you know, the stuff that you need to stop doing that you're doing right now. You know, just write them into the circle. The stuff that overlaps is stuff we're going to keep doing, right? So if it's podcasting, if it's sales conversations, if it's, I mean, oddly enough, if it's an area that you're not great at, even though, you know, you think that being the general manager of your business is something you need to do, sometimes it's better to outsource that. If you don't like dealing with staff, you know, get an HR person to take care of that sort of stuff for you. So you can focus in your genius zone. You don't have to be the CEO of your own business as you grow it. You can employ a CEO and do something else. Right? That CEO will still report to you, but you don't have to be it. Right? So, and then on the right-hand side, obviously things that we're going to start doing or change, you know, in order to really sort of facilitate that transition.
Hang on, I think we got this. I think we got the start change already. So we got the start change.
Oh, sorry, yeah, stop
on the
doing.
Right. Yep, yeah. And the stop.
Yeah, so stop on the left. Stop doing a bunch of stuff.
Yes.
Right? Now that's anything, just about anything that's less than your hourly rate that you want to command.
Yes.
Don't love doing and don't really know how to do. Stop doing that. All right. Keep doing stuff that's at or about your hourly rate that you like doing. Right, and that drives your business forward, that you're doing right now. So
yes.
Obviously if you're having sales conversations, yep, that's what you keep doing.
Yes.
And what do you need to start doing or change in your business on the right-hand side in order to kind of continue to drive it forward? And the start, you know, might change your thinking is one thing that you might need to do. Right, you might need to go, I need to have that conversation with myself to go, in order to grow my business, I need to, you know, stop, sort of start or change my thinking about what activities I do. I need to outsource something even though I'm not ready to do so, because that will free up my time to focus on an area of my genius.
Yes. For me, that I can give you a beautiful example of that. Writing show notes. That used to take me, I think about a whole 2 episodes before I went, no more.
Yeah.
You know, it took me 4 hours to pull the bits out of the show notes and get them up on the website. And now I pay someone less than $20 a week to do that for me. Like, it's just incredible.
That's right. You know, and that 4 hours, you know, is 80, you know, it's cost you $80. And what do you get to do instead? You get to work with clients. You get to record the material.
Yes.
Right?
The stuff that we love doing. Yes. Yes. And Glory, if we're giving you shout outs to our amazing team, Glory is the one that pulls our show notes together, and I love her. And that's her genius zone, but she wouldn't be so great on camera talking about this kind of stuff. So if we all concentrate on our zones of genius, things will start to flow a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can seem scary. The first time you do it, you go, you know, can I really afford, you know, from a cash perspective to outsource some of this stuff? Now, word of caution, obviously, if you outsource this stuff and if you change the way you do things and then sit on your bum,
so glad you mentioned
it's not going to work.
I was going to mention the same thing, so you beat me to it. We don't outsource it and then sit around doing nothing.
Okay. Now, longer term, maybe that's the whole goal. All right. I prefer to sit around in the Maldives and drinking cocktails, but I've got to get to that point.
Yeah.
Right now, the stuff that is not in my genius zone that I'm outsourcing and automating, I've now got to make sure that I fill that time with stuff that's in my genius zone.
And we are talking about growing your business here. I mean, I have been in a position where I was able to outsource everything. It took me about 18, 19 years to get to that point where I didn't have to be in the business at all, but I got bored really quickly and started doing something else.
Well, actually, I was talking, it's funny you mentioned that. I was talking to a mate of mine, because just to show that it doesn't always take 18 to 19 years, I was talking to a mate of mine who started his real estate business 2.5 years ago. He's now got 660 properties under management and 22 staff, and he doesn't have to work in it anymore.
Yeah, no.
He still does occasionally because he wants to, and to stop himself from being completely bored. Right? But it can be done. It can be done in a very, in a relatively short time frame if you want to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If I was going to do that again, it would happen in a lot shorter time frame. But yeah, absolutely. So awesome. So we've got, first up, how to recognize your hourly rate so you're not spending time doing tasks that aren't going to drive your business forward. And we're not talking about what you bill out. We're just talking about how to recognize that rate to be able to put your week together. The second one is allocating or figuring out which tasks are in our genius zone so that we can either automate or delegate or eliminate those tasks. And the third one is knowing what we need to stop doing and what we need to start or change doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
Now, of course, I think if anyone's got any questions coming from today's episode or anything else, you want to send them in. Don't forget to, comment. Use the hashtag #AskSamAndTim. We'd love to get your questions and answer them on the show in future episodes. Always get some really interesting and curly ones sometimes. Yes. But we love your feedback. We love your interaction. And likewise, if you feel like someone could benefit from hearing our show as well, don't forget to sort of like, comment, or share it, or even review us on iTunes if you feel the love.
Absolutely.
We appreciate that feedback from you. And of course, coming up next week, we've got a really cool episode.
We do. And this is a question that I don't know about you, Tim. I actually pulled this one because I get asked this probably at least 10 times a week. How do I create a content strategy, and what does it actually mean?
What is that?
What is a content strategy? There's a strategy around content?
Why do I need one of these things?
Plate of spaghetti at the wall and hope it will stick.
It's interesting because, this and we'll get into it more next week, but so many people think, I've been told I need to do content because someone said I need to do content, but really don't go about it in a very intelligent way. And we're going to explore that in the next episode.
Awesome. Look forward to it. Parting thoughts, Tim. Let's wrap up this show. If there's something that you really want people to take away from listening to this episode, what would that one thing be?
Look, the thing that I think that people should do, don't take the stuff we did lightly and just go, I do that already. Really go through the exercise. And if you've got a team that work with you, get them involved in the process. You'll find some really interesting things about what you potentially think happen. But when you start breaking down these tasks, and it's only by breaking them down that we really understand what happens and what processes and where the gaps are in our business.
Absolutely. And on that I just did that with my personal assistant only 2 weeks ago. Something that I thought was flowing beautifully. And he said to me, Sam, can we jump on a call? I think there's a better way to do it. And it took us about half an hour, but we both realized, hang on a minute, this is like all over the shop. And it was fantastic. So definitely bring your team on board. They love to be involved in making things better as well. It empowers them to do even more to help you grow your business.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. Tim, it's been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you here today.
As always, Sam.
For all our listeners, if you're listening to this on release day Thursday, have a fabulous Thursday. If you're listening to it any other time, thanks so much for joining us. Have an amazing week, and we will see you on Monday, or I'll see you next Monday, and I'll be back in the Thought Leaders Business Lab with you again, Tim, next Thursday. Have a great week, guys.
You too, Sam. Bye.